So usually when we are going to do something like a portrait, it's scary for first timers, or you haven't been doing this, and it's going to be a bit more intimidating than ever, because usually when we draw faces, when we try to do it, most people would just lean to a default thing that they see or have been doing, like anime, for example, a stylized type of drawing. So the point of this video is really to break away from that, and instead let's focus on something that is more towards drawing what you see rather than what you know. So in a couple of videos that I've already have published, it's about learning to draw what you see and not what you think, and some tricks that you would implement into achieving that. But here, I'll be talking about how to do a self-portrait. So one of those things that you need to do first is first try to draw yourself. By doing so, you become your own critic, and in terms of judging how it would look, and you can adjust accordingly. So I have 2 pages here. I'm going to use my left page for practice purposes because I don't want to just directly do a direct finished product here. So in the videos that in the past, I talk about the portrait proportions. So I just do a cross line. Now, of course, instructions differ from artist to artist, and in the years of me looking at formulations for portraiture or figures, there's no fixed rule about it, but there is some sort of general rule. But every book says otherwise. There's different rules and different proportioning. And I'm just going to be summarizing something that I believe and I've been practicing for these few years. Normally, I do this first. I determine the eye. So this is one eye's length. So I'm just generally sketching first the proportion rules that I follow. So this is 3 eyes, and in between each eye is 1 eye apart. And then another 2 eyes length. This gives me sort of like the general width of any face. I usually locate my nose by doing a 45-degree line. So one thing to practice are how to determine first halves, or how to subdivide something in thirds. Those are the key things that you can practice over here first. How do I determine the nose? Usually it's sometimes 45 degrees from here, meaning from the center line over to here is the same as here. If you're not sure, you can take your pencil and you can use that as a measuring device. So it's there. So from the middle to here, it's the same length. So this is 45 degrees. So that's the angle. But sometimes the point of determining the nose, it could be from here, which is half an eye away, or just a bit of there, and then draw a 45-degree line. So this is the bottom of the nose. But if I usually keep it roughly around here, and the width of the nose, of course, is going to be 1 eye. Now, once I've established these 2 points, the nose and the eye level, I can determine where the chin is, or the bottom of here, by taking this length and placing it there. Now, this gives me the context for where the top of the skull is going to be. So it's the same length, height, and over here. So this gives me the framework for where my entire head is going to be. Here, for the lips, you can subdivide this from the chin to the nose into thirds, and this gives the where the lips are. And usually it's going to be in the middle of the eye. Iris is going to be 1/3. Eyebrow is about one eye above the eyes. And usually it's to here, the eyebrow. So this is a very generic type of formulation for any face. Then once you've done these things, so you have this and that as equal. Now the hairline is exactly one nose to the eye. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to measure that. So that's 1/3. Widest point of the face is usually here. It's halfway from the middle of the nose, and usually it's going to taper here. Some of you would think that this is too wide, but it's actually not, because you would have a hair. Your part of your hairline is going to be there, and then this is the top of your skull, and you're going to do a round thing here. So the face, of course, is determined by the shape of a person. So it could be thinner, it could be, rounder here, nose. So I'm just going to do some of the general outline. Now you could follow a lot of different video tutorials, but this is general. So, and one of the mistakes that some people would do is that they think that this is the hair line, but no. Hair is a bit more, usually it's one eye above the skull if a person has hair. And then the ear is determined by the proportions where the eyebrow is and where the nose. So this is when a person is exactly looking in front and you are at the same eye level if you are the viewer of this. You can determine also where the mouth is by, so we've determined that the nose is measured from probably this point. It's 45 degrees there. And you can even determine the mouth by where the mouth is from here, and it's another 45 degrees. And then one of the things that the novice would have trouble doing is our eyes, drawing of eyes. So I'm just going to be having a look at my set of eyes. So usually there are 3 angles that I use to draw an eye. And if this is the length of the eye, usually there's a shape that I see there. And then 1/3 of the width is where your iris, or that round black thing in your eye. And then usually there are like these creases that you see and an eye bag. And if you have a closer look, you would have your eyelashes. And then one eye above are usually where your eyebrows are located. And of course, that has a certain shape. For me, it's like this. So it's a thinner there. And then the lips are, one of the mistakes that a lot of people do is make a smaller, or not so wide of a mouth, but it's usually here on the middle of the eye up to the next middle of the eye. And the lips are usually not a straight line. And if I take a look at my own lips, so the top lip is like this. You can not just draw the entire edge, but you can just get the notion like this, and then another. So it all depends also on what you see, the shape. And there's this thing. Okay. Then the nose, some people would have trouble. Usually Asians are this wide. Now it's great to have to draw with an ink pen, because you would know, you would have mistakes. Yes, mistakes are there for us to learn from. So I'm doing some details here. So I'm sort of like having a look at myself and trying to determine if I'm doing this right. Okay, so my hair would probably be like this. Not necessarily me. So my chin, okay, it really depends. Okay, so here the ear shape, you have to really look at the person's ear, the hair. Okay, so it's one of those things that you just do out, not the entire solid outline, and becomes like this very solid object thing. Again, it's all about observing the shapes and determining where things are. And then the neck, of course, is usually here in between this eye. Okay, so a lot of people would mistakenly just put a thin thing here, like a line, and they think that they have this sort of very thin neck. But no, usually it's right outside this, outside the eye. It's usually here. So it would be looking funny if, you know, the neck is thinner, so it won't be looking very realistic. And then of course the color of anyone, if they have their, if you're referencing from a real person or yourself. So this is generally any person's proportions. So you could do anyone. You could do pop stars or people that you see on TV, or people that you know. And this is a general formula that I use to draw anyone. Of course, this is just a an example of something that this is because you're looking forward to a person. So once you've kind of dealt with doing proportions practices, and probably a supplement video that you watch, and like people's lips, and that thing that you have here above your lips, and of course the shape of your nose, the nostrils, that thing, of course shapes of eyebrows, shapes of eyes. It all depends on who are you observing and their features. Because once you know all of this, and then you look at their features and the shape of their eyes, the shape of their nose, the shape of every element, even their ears, the shape of the hair, and that's where you place things together. I mean, this formula of proportions and angles will be a very good guide in doing portraiture.